Fiona Campbell lives alone with her cat Cake. She dreams of being in exciting adventures, but in her real life she is always cynical and depressed. When Cake starts acting strangely, she takes her cat with her to later show him to a vet, but now Cake, seeing a skating rink, acts out. Fiona gets fired for bringing her cat along for work. Now that she don't have enough to pay for the vet, her ex-boyfriend sent her to LSP. On the way, she met this guy called Hunter, who helps her find him. Now Ellis used some catnip on Cake, making her high. As they were talking, Cake suddenly runs off chasing blue sparkles, and she finally jumps into this ice cream stand, where the light came from. Turns out that it was a portal, and as soon as Cake jumps, it disappears. Now, in Simon's world, he leads an awful life, and it's revealed that he is the author of the book series Fiona and Cake, but he stopped writing when something happened to his girlfriend. Seeing the depressed Simon Petrikoff, Finn takes him to an adventure which made him feel a bit better for a while. As he returned to his apartment, Simon attempts to perform a ritual to bring back Betty, who disappeared after merging with the entity Golb. He fails, but a portal appears on the back of his head, and this is the portal that opened in Fiona's world, and this brings Cake in the land of Ooh. The crossover triggers an alarm in the time room, but Prismo didn't mind that. Simon put this collar on Cake so that he can speak with her, but he freaks her out and Cake runs away. Fiona keeps looking for Cake and the blue portal that she jumped into. Back in Ooh, Cake explores this new world. Meanwhile, Simon tries again to bring back Betty, and now Fiona sees the sparkly blue light. She opens the refrigerator. A portal opens and sucks her through into Simon's world. Fiona leaves his apartment wanting to search for Cake, and this girl called Astrid helps her to locate the cat. Now Cake run into some trouble and was about to get killed, but Fiona was there to save her. Now Prismo pulls them both into the time room, and he gave Cake some upgrades. He checks into Simon and pulls him into the time room as well. He asks him about the crossovers, but Simon lies about the whole thing, so Prismo looks into the past and saw what has happened. He explains to Fiona and Cake that he got bored and wished them into existence, but he was not authorized to do so, so he hid their world in Ice King's head. But when he got cured from the curse, his magic was lost and turned Simon into this sad loser, and that's why Fiona's world lost its magic too, and turned pretty boring along with Simon. After Prismo ignored the alert twice, this came to the attention of the Scarab, and he's outside the time room knocking to investigate on him. Not wanting to get into trouble, Prismo hides the three before attending to Scarab. Now the Scarab wanted to take a look around the time room. Meanwhile, a copy of Prismo led Fiona, Cake, and Simon to the Time Core, where the Scarab follows soon. Having multiple conversations was hard on Prismo, and finally he made a mistake talking about the unauthorized universe he made. Now Scarab wanted to be the Wishmaster for so long, and he took this opportunity to do so. But unexpectedly, Prismo hands over the remote to Fiona. The three teleports before the Scarab get to them. Now Simon thinks that he can protect Fiona and Cake from Scarab and also bring magic to their world by becoming Ice King again. And for that they will have to find another magic crown in the multiverse. They search for the crown in the current world they are in. Scarab, after trapping Prismo inside a cube, finds Fiona, Cake, and Simon and comes into this farm world. He was soon able to track the whereabouts about the three, and he tracks them to Finn's house, disguising himself as a human. Finn sends him away, saying there is no one there but him and the kids. Meanwhile, Jay takes the three to a crater, where they find the crown, but it was already annihilated. Now the Destiny Gang got there and ties the three. The jewel on the crown somehow survived, and apparently that's what was making Jay's girlfriend sick. While the gang was preoccupied, Simon get his hands on the remote, and Cake extend his tail and grabs the jewel just as the Scarab has arrived. And when Simon hits the button, Scarab manages to grab on one of Simon's leg, teleporting with them to this ice world. But the Ice King from this world freezes the Scarab. He wanted to help Simon, and he agrees to make him a duplicate crown, which will restore the magic in the Fiona world. Later, when Fiona kisses the Winter King, the curse is lifted, turning him into dust. Apparently, the Winter King casted a spell on Princess Bubblegum, which projected the madness of the crown onto her. Now that the Winter King is gone, the scarab is free, and he went after them, but they teleport to another world. Running away from the scarab, Simon, Fiona, and Cake teleports to this vampire-invested world. In this world, years before, we see a dead Simon, whose soul was probably sucked by vampires, and young Marceline, who gets taken in by the Night King. Now the three gets attacked by the zombies, but Cake was able to handle them, with its transformative abilities. But as more of them came, Bonnie assisted them by pouring holy water all over the zombies, getting rid of them. Now Bonnie, who is impressed by Cake's ability, invited them to join her vampire hunting team. Simon, Fiona, and Cake tags along with them, because they are after the crown possessed by the Vampire King. Now, Bonnie's plan went awry when Marceline traps them. Turns out that Bonnie was after Marceline all along. Marceline, she kills Martin. Bonnie starts attacking with her tank, but her efforts were futile and Marceline flies away. With the tank being wrecked, there seemed no way to move forward. But then, Cake transformed into a giant cat so that they can move forward and get to the crown of the Vampire King. They reached the hive, and they set garlic bombs all over the hive. Huntress infiltrates the throne room, and the plan is to shoot off the Vampire King's crown, just as the bombs go off so that the ice magic created clouds will disappear, and the vampires will burn up in the daylight. But their plan fails, and the Vampire King comes out carrying the dead body of Huntress. When all hope seemed lost, and with Bonnie, who is overpowered by Marceline, Fiona decides to escape, but Cake grabs on the remote, not allowing her to teleport, breaking it in the struggle, and as the Vampire King notices, Cake aiming for his crown. But they were saved as Fiona pressed the button, and they teleports from the vampire world. Now Simon shares his past about his girlfriend Betty to Fiona. The scarab tries to locate Fiona and Cake, swaying from his actual duties. Bimo couldn't help them locate the crown, but he tries to fix the remote, burning away in the process. Now they look for Bimo's friend Jerry, but finds that he is actually Lich. Having eliminated all life form on the planet, knowing that there is no other way for them to survive, Fiona reveals that she had the crown the whole time, since the Winter King's world. She tells Simon that she knowingly didn't want to put the crown's curse on him. But there is no way out for them if he didn't take the crown. So he wears it and did the ritual. A portal opens in Simon's head, and the both jumps through just as Scarab got there. Now both him and Simon falls through another red portal. After successfully teleporting back to their universe, Fiona and Cake share a nightmare, where they see Gary, who is now turned into a gum blob, coming after them, their neighborhood which looks like it's gone through an apocalypse. Soon the both awakes and realizes that everything is normal around. But Cake still got his superpowers. Fiona and Cake meet up with their friends, Gary and Marshall. They tell them about their adventures and the fact that their world isn't real. Though Fiona and Cake are back, Simon is still struck with Lich. Now Lich, he summons Golb and is angry with her, questioning her, making her real angry. Golb erases him from existence. Now Simon goes on and tries to put the crown. But Golb did not allow this. She whisks his mind to Shermie, this rat. Soon Simon realizes that his mind has been misplaced and starts working toward finding the crown. He goes to the library with Beth, and he finds this adventure book which he thinks will lead him to the crown. So he starts playing the game, finding clues along the way. Now Scarab awakens and tries to finish off Simon, but Golb turns him into crabs. This doesn't stop him, though. He was eventually able to climb through the portal in Simon's head, leading him to Fiona's world. Knowing that the crabs are Scarab, Fiona and her friends kept them apart, and finally were able to isolate them in jars. Fiona calls Simon to figure out what's going on, but he is still under the spell of Golb. After they left the apartment, this guy Ellis wakes up and unleashes the crabs without knowing the whole story. The crabs reunites, reforming into Scarab, blowing off the apartment walls. In the adventure book game, Simon, who is now in this rat's body, He always chooses Casper's decisions to get to the crown so he could stop the scarab and help Fiona and Cake. Simon did not think of what happens to Nova because of this, which led to dooming him, and also leaving Simon with limited options in the game. After knowing that he is at fault here, Simon relates this to his lover Betty. His conscious mind returned to his real body. He has let Betty sacrifice her dreams just for him being selfish, and he didn't even realize it at the time, even though a part of him always knew. He reminisces the time when he made her not go on the trip to check out the petroglyphs, instead of supporting her and going along with her. Simon now wants things to happen differently, but even him can't change the past. Now that Scarab is out of the jar, he is really angry. Now, Cake takes Scarab's crystal from Fiona and started freeing the prisoners one by one, but the Scarab was too powerful for any one of them. He takes back his crystal from Cake and started to rip their world into pieces. Fiona, Cake, or any one of their friends was able to stop him. They watched as he erased their existence. But Cake decides to act. He transforms into a Godzilla and fights the Scarab. At least for a while, Cake was able to buy some time, but now he has reached his limits. Simon did not want to put on the crown. Now realizing that he has done wrong by Betty, he thinks that he don't deserve it. After seeing the missed calls from Fiona, he calls her back. She explains to him about the situation they are in, but she didn't want Simon to get involved. But after rejecting the crown, he was able to detach the world of Fiona and Cake from him, and he was able to hand it over to Fiona, the magical dandelion, which is their world. Now with this, she was able to restore the damage done to her world by the Scarab, making this world authorized, so now the Scarab have no authority to cause any more problems here. But still in anger against Prismo, he started wreaking damage in the town, but soon gets defeated by Fiona and Cake with some help from their friends. And Cake finally imprisons him, using the crystal. Golbetti lets Simon go back to Oo. Now Orbo made Scarab work for Prismo as punishment, taking off all his powers. Simon appreciates his life and starts enjoying it more. Fiona and Cake, along with the others, celebrates their newfound happiness in their new, now authorized universe.